A warm welcome to everyone. Warm welcome to all Oistad friends. Good to see you all. And although it's only digital, I still feel very warm about seeing you all live, at least live in the picture here. So very warm welcome. On our second day of Congress. Yesterday we had a very nice day with very nice presentations and a good amount of people turning up. So I was very happy to see that all going, and a lot of new people as well. So the new digital era works. We see that people who were formerly perhaps not so eligible to just join in an Oistad meeting for all kinds of reasons can now just log on and be there, and it works for our organization very well. So I'm happy to see that. Today we have this session at least is a formal part of Congress. So here is where you see all the members and the voting delegates can execute their democratic right to decide on Oistad business. That will be tomorrow, of course. And today, so we have a relatively easy day, at least perhaps not for the candidates, but for all of us. We can enjoy meeting the candidates for president and for EC. We have 11 candidates for EC, actually 10, because one of them will also be president. And it's up to you, of course, who that will be. It's up to you to whoever will going to be elected into the new EC again. So about the voting rules, that will all be tomorrow. Today we just do presentations and get to know each other and do Q&A. Tomorrow everything will be explained by headquarters on how the voting exactly works, because we have a very new thing is voting online. We have tested it out with the chair of the Architecture Commission. That went very well, and so we are quite sure that this time it will be working very well as well. Tomorrow we'll explain it more in depth so that we're sure there are no mistakes and everybody can execute this right to vote. Let me say that check the website, the normal Oistad website, not the Apricot one, but the normal Oistad website. The list of delegates is there. And please all check or ask your delegate to check if the name who's on that list is proper, because this is the list of delegates that got an email tomorrow for voting. If the wrong delegate is on the list, then you cannot vote. So please check with your own colleagues if the right delegate is mentioned on that list on the normal Oistad website. But for now, we're going to go over the list of presentations. We start, of course, with the presentation of the two candidates for president. Today we have Abby Cohen and Gregor Sturm as the two president candidates who will be voted upon tomorrow. And I would like to ask them to present themselves. Let's listen to what they have to say. And after those two presentations, we can open up for some questions and see if people have direct questions. It's open to everybody. Have direct questions for the candidates. So for now, I'd like to ask, we do it in alphabetical order for the last name. I'd like to ask Abby to give the first presentation as a president candidate. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Brett. Hello, my dear friends. Olá, meus caros amigos. My name is Abby Cohen. I'm from Brazil, affiliated before I start as an individual member, nominated as president candidate by the Portugal Oistad Center, APCEM. I want to express my gratitude and honor to all members of the Portugal Oistad Center. My special thanks to Luis Santos, Ana Paula Rocha, and Aurora dos Campos for their unconditional support. From the bottom of my heart, my big thank you. I recently joined the Oistad Center, the Society of British Theatre Designers in UK, where I'm currently living and working. I'm very proud to be a member, and I hope that as BTT members will feel represented and also support my candidacy. And of course, I'm super proud to represent my country, Brazil, and my Brazilian colleagues, who I hope are also feeling proud and supportive for having a Brazilian candidate for Oistad presidency for the first time. And I'm looking forward to affiliate to the new Brazilian Association that's a candidate in this Congress to reestablish a Brazilian Oistad Center. I will be very honored to represent and work with OISTAT members from all countries as the next OISTAT president, if that's what you wish. I'm a performance designer and educator working for theatre, performance and film, exhibition designer and curator, awarded with the Golden Trigger 2011 and the IGCA 2013 for Best Exhibition Layout. I went to university very early, by the age of 16, started teaching in my 20s, and later on, after gaining practical experience, I did a master's and a PhD in theatre theory and practice. For more than 1 decade, I have been bouncing between Brazil and Europe, working here and there. And 2 years ago, I moved to UK, where I'm currently working as the head of postgraduate program at the Backstage Academy Production Park. Being from a family of immigrants, I grew up surrounded by a diversity of cultures, languages, beliefs, rituals from Slovenia, Croatia, Russia, Romania, Bosnia, France, Spain, Syria, Israel, and all mixed up with a Brazilian culture and influences. There's amazing diversity background that forged me to who I am. And my fascination for transnational, international collaboration, exchange, breaking borders, looking for gaps to create new opportunities. I can explain a little bit about me. I heard of OISTAT in 1999 at PQ. In 2003, I became a member. 2005, I attended my first OISTAT meeting outside of PQ in UK. Since then, I attended several meetings in many countries, and in collaboration with Brazilian colleagues and OISTAT commissions, an international conference was held in Brazil in 2014. Other collaborations with OISTAT includes Cinefest 2007 and 11, World Stage Design 2013, 17, and now the next one in Calgary. OISTAT 50th anniversary, Cena 2020, and as a member of the EC once voted at the World Congress in Cardiff 2013. However, my collaboration is not about what I have done, but most important that through the work we all do together and our enthusiasm, we encourage, inspire and support others to present and exchange their works, ideas, to expand borders, network, and to shine. OISTAT is a very welcoming space for creating and sharing projects, and our capacity of collaboration is unique. It needs to be both directions, members supporting OISTAT and OISTAT supporting members. We received a few but significant questions that would certainly take longer than 6 minutes to talk about, mainly because I would like to approach those topics with the community horizontally. Bert gave us an incredible speech yesterday and mentioned one subject I would like to discuss deeply. How, as an international organization, we answer to global questions like climate change, decreasing mobility, access, political and economic pressures that impact on our artistic and cultural sector. We live in a challenging and changing moment that requires creating and managing in adversity. All important tasks to discuss and act quickly will be funding and management, OISTAT sustainability, strategies to support projects, AMOC Taiwan. It's imminent to confirm the support of to headquarters from 2025. In the meantime, to explore all the office support, expanding management, regional offices, database of sponsorship, partnerships, resources, and international funding programs. We must also wisely use the digital access expanded by the pandemic to promote actions and activities, to improve communication with OISTAT centers, members, and to reach new members, increase the CNGB board meetings, including possibly members delegates, creating a learning platform that potentially will attract new and young members, develop OISTAT as a hub. This is an amazing opportunity for the community to speak and collaborate for the continuity and future of OISTAT. Tomorrow's results are your voice. I will be honored to offer my experience and enthusiasm to work with you all as the next president, and I wish you all a beautiful day gathering in the OISTAT World Congress. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abby. Let's save up our possible questions for a moment later. And for now, I'd like to directly hand over the microphone to Gregor. Please be the next one to present yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. My internet connection is very unstable. That's why I asked the headquarters to start my video. I did it as a backup.
Dear fellow Oistad members, my name is Gregor Alexander Sturm. I was born in 1972 in Munich, Bavaria, Germany, Europe. My professions are stage, costume and light designer, architect, wine importer, and I studied theater management. For years now I have been working mainly in the theater of the German-speaking world, as lecturer in art universities and as author of theater-specialized texts. In 2015 I became vice president of the Bund der Szenografen, the union of German-speaking stage, costume, light designers and puppeteers. From there I got accepted into the Deutscher Kulturrat, a committee consisting of members from a diversity of cultural fields, advising the German government in cultural affairs. It was also here where my involvement with the DTHG began. Currently, I am living in Venice, Italy, and in Munich, Germany, and recently I'm thinking about restarting to live in Ireland, where I went after school to live and study. Through a journey that took me back in time, I found my love for this beautiful island unchanged. Today I address you all because I decided to run for the presidency or a seat in the executive committee of the Oistad. There are many reasons to do so for me. Please allow me to shine a light on the most important of them. I strongly consider to be a European. Europe is a great political gift with a strongly complicated history and a fairly complicated present time. I do not believe in national boundaries, and I think for the human species to survive it will take a combined global effort. Culturally and sometimes spiritually, it makes a difference where one comes from, but on a personal level, the origins do not matter at all, nor one's spiritual beliefs, nor gender or sexual orientation. To create the magic that live performances are, a variety of people are needed. It is always the creative effort of many and never a single achievement. To those many people I would be honored to lend my voice to, knowing that governing is also always a team effort. Teams to me are very important. To find a consent through diplomatic discussions with equal voices and to move a mountain together with my peers and for them is sheer joy for me. The Oistad is a great and very important invention for performing arts on a global level. To speak and to act globally is today more important than in a long time, with today's threats of rising nationalism through the resurfacing of fascism and an out-control of capitalism. The lead in the world is not people-oriented, but solely money-oriented. The climate change and the attempt to preserve resources for future generations are only met by sarcasm of the still ruling men of the past with the unwillingness to pass the scepter to the younger generation. I myself find me being from the so-called Generation X that is trapped by the post-war generation with its ignorance to change, current topics of utter urgence, and its sheer denial of the fact that its time is used up. I myself might be on the brink of being too old, but my generation is the joint from the overcrowded demographic of the old to the fragile, in digits too small group of the young. We might be the dolmetsching link for the communication between these far apart worlds. In my short involvement with the Oyster as the German delegate for performance design, and from 2021 also with a special endorsement by the DTHG, I had the pleasure to attend the meetings in Salt Lake City in 2016 with an intervention about artistic inclusion of refugees in German theater. Next came the World Stage Design in Taipei 2017, where my speech about costume and politics was held by the beautiful Roseanne Muniz because I broke my wrist on the way to the convention, and lastly the Prague Quadrennial 2019. I am also a member of the Costume and Space Subcommissions. In my vision, Oystad becomes a household name in all the world for cultural expertise and the go-to organization for the distribution of funds, but also a cultural refuge for those in need to enhance their voice with our means and influence. In my opinion, Oystad should decentralize and become more federal. Not one seat or capital, but different embassies around the globe. A net of culture, a net of cultural people, a net of politics of culture. Funding need to be granted by the governments of member states with the means to do so to help the poorer members. A social distribution of money. Also private and corporate money without any influence on the agenda and political focus is welcome. Europe with its institutionalized theater is asked to advise and collaborate with parts of the world where the European expertise is welcome without any imperialism of culture. The history of European theater and the financial aids can only be the demure that helps grow the flowers and fruits in every corner of the world. Where there are humans, there is theater. In my opinion, we need to combine forces with the ITI to have a greater impact in the governments and in the countries themselves. We want to broaden our reach to the maximum for the biggest cultural bloom possible. I would also put a lens onto the way we speak with each other. No one shall left behind. Language barriers must be overcome by the most simultaneous translation possible and the integration of multilingualism. Democracy is key to all our efforts. Only if choices are given to us, only if we use our valuable voices, only if we accept the outcome and match it with our willingness to combine efforts and work together, there will be justice and peace. Those two virtues are paramount to freedom. And only with freedom inside of us we can create. We want to create a better world, and that again will take us if we want to succeed. In the hope that you share my vision, I thank you very much for your precious time and your engagement.
Thank you. Thank you, Gregor. So, dear friends, now we have seen the two candidates for president. I'm very happy that we have multiple candidates. I'm very curious if there's any questions from you, because we can open the floor for a couple of minutes if somebody wants to ask a specific question to one of the candidates. Please raise your hand in that case, and do it if possible in the toolbar. If you click on reactions, you will see the raise hand. If you do so, then you'll pop up in my screen and I can see you and don't have to scroll around. I see Fiona raising a hand. Please, Fiona.
Yes, thanks, Bert. I just wanted from Gregor's speech to understand what the acronym ITI stood for. Gregor spoke about Oystad combining with ITI, and I wasn't sure what that was.
It's the International Theatre Institute. And I think they have their headquarters in China, and so it's very difficult at that moment. But they are, I think they were also very important for European fundings, because for example, Germany gives a lot of money to ITI, and we could collaborate with them and could get more money even for our interests.
Did that answer to your question, Fiona? Because ITI, of course, is our sister organization. It
Yes,
was
thank you.
it started at the same time as OISTAT started. This is the UNESCO international organization, and we are a sister organization to that. And just recently, we reconnected with the new Congress that they just had at a couple of months ago. And indeed, their headquarters is in Shanghai now. Right. I see Richard Bryant raising a hand. Please, Richard.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm curious to ask both of the candidates in this day and age of participation and representation. I know that OISTAT has been making avenues into other regions, other countries of the world, and I'm curious to know is how do you see yourselves encouraging newer countries, newer people to come and participate in this community?
Do you ask to both candidates the same question, Rachel?
Yes, sir.
Just in general. Okay, so ladies first.
No,
I would
thank
say.
you.
Eddie?
I think there's many ways, but one example that I think happened recently and yesterday we had a quite good example is through projects such as SENA we created. We started expanding already for regions and countries we wouldn't have representatives, and and we received messages from individuals that join us in sessions like that. So we're using these online platforms we can use at the moment for different reasons, for meetings, projects, learning, teaching, whatever. I think is a good opportunity to expand. And it's much easier today, I think, thinking about a project that will allow more people to join, to come on board, because traveling is not necessary at this point, but people could join us online, even if they cannot join in person. So I think promoting more projects like that and more encounters, and also establishing, as I mentioned, I think is important. We gain a better communication with OISTAT members, and OISTAT, not only the OISTAT centers, but there are lots of individual members. Sometimes we don't talk directly to them. It's about carrying on the network and using each one of us as a delegate, as a voice to expand OISTAT.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Gregor, do you want to?
I have, it's all, or everything what Abby said is right, and I would do it the same. And there are so many ways now. The digital room is open and it's improving every day. And so I think this is very good. And also social media would be a nice solution to reach more, and even to go to special theaters to ask members to get to their friends and to have these peers seeded to all other countries. I think it's easier through COVID-19.
Thank you. I'm looking at our schedule, and I think that we should now go on to the next item on the agenda, the presentation of the EC candidates, unless there's someone with a very stringent question. If not, then I would like to go over to the next agenda item, which is the EC candidates Q&A session. There we have 11 candidates because both presidential candidates are a candidate for the EC as well. And as we will do the presentation in alphabetical order by last name, we will start this one with Abby. But since Abby has just given us a presentation, I will give her the floor to perhaps add or adjust something to that. And if you want to keep it short, just let me know, and then we'll go to the next one. So following our script, the floor is for Abby.
Here we go again. Thank you. I feel quite, not sure if that's fair enough with the other candidates, because then we have 12 minutes, but here we go. Thank you for this space. And I have some things to add. Of course, I'm not going to repeat everything I said before, but some things will be. So hello again, my dear friends. Olá, meus caros amigos. I'm sorry, but I like speaking a little bit in my own language. My name is Abby Cohen from Brazil, affiliated with OISTAT as an individual member and a member of one of the British OISTAT centers, SBTD. As an individual member, I was nominated candidate by the Portugal OISTAT Center, APSIN. I'm first running for president, second for executive committee. In case this community express its desire for another presidential candidate, as Gregory, I would like you to consider my candidacy for this seat and my sincere desire to collaborate with OISTAT in the position you wish me taken. Once again, I want to say thank you for the Portuguese OISTAT Center, and I would like also to express my enthusiasm and to tell you that a new Brazilian Theatre Makers Association was recently created and has already applied for this Congress to reestablish an OISTAT Center in Brazil. Looking forward to it and to become affiliated to Grafias da Cena Brasil. It has been a long journey for Brazilian theatre designers and technicians to create and maintain an association. Myself with other colleagues that I would like to mention here, Luciana Bueno, Monica Palazzo, Ulysses Con, Adriane Vitali, Renato Rebouças. We started Scenografia Brazil 20 years ago. And later on, in collaboration with the Lighting Designers Association and new colleagues on board, as Rosanne Muniz, Nadia Luciani, within others, we affiliated at OISTAT and as OISTAT Center in 2007. We all know the challenge in maintaining an AGO and represents a country and maintaining ongoing in its own country and internationally. I believe that many OISTAT centers and members may have experienced situations of the most adversity to maintain their associations and affiliation, also to participate of the OISTAT activities and meetings. The pandemic has caused and is still causing a huge impact in our lives and work, immobilized us for a while, but on the other hand, brought us closer. With the access to online activities and meetings, we had more OISTAT events in 2020 and 2021, where we see at each session new faces. The distances between countries and the borders are decreasing somehow, and that is fascinating. This restructure of the Brazilian designers and technicians community happening in a moment like this is a good example of how we can make the best of this moment to broaden the dialogue, shorten distance and work together, engaging more people and see their enthusiasm for taking on great responsibilities. I'm very proud to be part of this moment, a moment that is challenging, inspiring, and offers many opportunities to redefine, restructure, be creative, and at the same time to manage wisely and meeting the multiple voices and desires. I have been once at the EC for the period of 2013 to 2017, elected at the World Congress in Cardiff, and it was an important experience, a period of learning, listening, and understanding of our infrastructure, organization, protocols. OISTAT is made by us, and having been at the center of the infrastructure for a mandate in EC, gave me the understanding and confidence to assume today a position and be proactive as a member of AC or as a president. Same kind of experience also happened to me, I could say PQ and World State Design. At PQ, I was once part of PQ team and curator for Shared Space Politics. And it was amazing to see and understanding how PQ is made, same as World State Design. This type of experience broadens our gaze and critical ability to see and to act on both sides, as a participant, proponent, and as a manager. I would like to take this opportunity to tell why I didn't run for this in 2017, when I had a good chance to give continuity to my participation in OISTAT EC. 2017, I was already committed with too many projects and independent projects that was called Desenhos de Cena, or Cena, with C, no S, intersections. And I was taking also the duties as a Brazilian curator for PQ 2019. On the top of that, I was restructuring my personal and family life, moving to UK, where I'm currently living and working. But, and my daughter now, she recently gone, moving to study cinema in Berlin, Carlin. And I realized the last time I was in a face-to-face Oistart meeting was in Berlin 2 years ago. I miss that personally, it was really nice. By saying that, I mean that at this point, like all of us, I have my work, my job, but I will be able to devote time to the positions I'm aiming for in the Oistart organization. I'm here with the aim of getting a vote for the position. As Louis said yesterday, there's never bad results of this process, it's always good. But now will allow me to represent and work together with all members, all Oistart centers from our countries to maintain and promote the wonderful encounters, bringing members together and opening windows for new members, collaboration and projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abby. Please let's save up questions for after the presentation of all candidates, and then we open up the floor for some specific questions. So please save them up. Let's quickly go to our second candidate today. That will be Mia David. Hello, Mia. The floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Hi. I will share my presentation because the internet is not stable. So if you lose me, you can see something. Yeah, okay. Wait a moment. You can see? Yeah. Okay. So my name is Mia David. I'm coming from Serbia. I'm an architect by my first education, let's say like that. I have magisterial and PhD in scene design, and I work in different fields like most of you. I'm working also as associate professor in scene design in Faculty of Technical Sciences in Novi Sad. I'm a member of Oistart for now 20 years. I was active on and off, depend of period of my professional work. I was member of Architecture Commission, and now I'm a member of Education Commission. I'm also an artistic director of Biennale of Scene Design. I followed the structure that you send us because I thought it's not very easy to put everything in 6 minutes. So what are my motives? When I finished architecture, I started that new school. At that time, it was a new school interdisciplinary program of scene design that was founded by Radivoje Dinulović, but it was actually founded with a lot of help with Oistart. So I had the pleasure to have some of great professors like Michael or Pamela Howard and Michael Ramsey, and etc. So it actually changed my life. Also, when I finished that, and I worked in different fields, as I said, for almost 20 years, in the field of first architecture, then set design, then as curator, manager in the culture. I was director of Culture Center in Belgrade for some time. And when I finished that, I started to teach in University of Novi Sad, again in a school, in a program that was established by Radivoje Dinulović, but this time with all 3 levels of education. So Oistart in a way changed my life professionally and personally as well. And I would like to give something back, not just to the students, but also to the wider community. Also, during the 90s, at beginning of 2000s, Oistart was very important in Serbia, and it was very strong. With the time, that importance started to fade out, And I think it's now time, because we have now, as a school and as also as a Oyster Center in Serbia, we have, I think, people and resources to bring that influence again. And this time, not only in Serbia, but also in the region, because the only Oyster Center in the region is in Serbia. How we will do that? We are actually already doing this. Because we have two projects as Oyster Center Serbia, Scentech and Biennial of Scene Design. Scentech is dedicated to procedures, forms, and normatives in the field of theater, and we are trying, this is very long process actually, to make some kind of common ground for all theaters in Serbia and then in a region concerning all kind of occupations that are not vivid from the outside. Biennial of Scene Design is something that we already had during 1990s and the beginning of 2000s. It stopped in 2007, so there was a big gap, and we are renewing now next year. The difference will be that, it is that this time it will be the regional network on both level, professional and student level. If we are talking about politics and policies of Oystat and concerning questions that we got, I also think that pandemic was, of course, it has many bad faces, but one of the good ones is that it's much more easy to communicate through the online platforms, and it's also it becomes very fast and it becomes easy to work together. I think that one of the problems that Oystat had in previous time is that it becomes more oriented towards industry, and I think that we should redefine or find new balance between industries and education and other values that Oystat also proclaims. I also think that this is time, now it's time to actually expand, not just to be in the network of professionals, but also Oystat never was just a network, it was kind of community. But now it's easier to expand that community also to the countries that are not so rich. So it's for many people, it was very hard to travel to some destinations that are expensive. So I think that through online platforms and also through projects, Oystat could really support the smaller communities and the people who are willing to participate and to create some different, maybe say different way of communication and community. Yeah, I think that I said mostly about this also. Concerning the last question, I don't know enough, and I think it would be very irresponsible to have an opinion on the subject that is deeply political, which I don't have problem with, but the problem is that I don't know the financial background fully, so I cannot really judge on that. And for the end, I would like to invite you, everybody, next year to Novi Sad. Novi Sad will be the cultural capital of Europe, and under that umbrella, we will do our first edition of the renewed Biennial of Scene Design, and I hope that many of you will take a part. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go to our next candidate, which is Laura van Hapen. Laura, please, floor is yours.
Thank you. I have a little presentation I want to share. Let me see. You can see it?
Yes, it works.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. I would like to first introduce myself. I'm Laura van Haperen from the Dutch Oistad Center. I currently work as Director of Education and Law for the VPLT. This is the German Professional Lighting, Sound and Entertainment Technology Association. I have a theater technical background as I studied theater technology in Amsterdam, and I worked as a production manager at a big theater and opera house in Frankfurt, Germany for several years. My first notice of Oistad was via my former study director, Fritz van den Haspel. That must have been somewhere in 2000. Ever since, I have been keen on being part of Oistad. Therefore, I'm still very grateful he asked me to get involved in 2013 and directly invited me to World Stage Design in Cardiff. Since 2014, I'm the Dutch voting delegate, and since 2018, the vice chair of the Technology Commission. People who know me will confirm I do my very best to engage myself to increase the benefit of those taking part. My personal Oistad target, therefore, is to share my knowledge. I'm the co-founder of the International Standards Project, and in 2017, I've been the jury member of the Oistad Technical Invention Prize TIP. My slogan for this election, Oistad, get ready for the future. We need to prepare for the coming generations. There have been a lot of studies about the so-called Generation Z, born between 1997 and 2010. They do not know a time without technology. The interesting thing is, although they consume 6 to 9 hours on media platforms each day, according to US studies, they prefer face-to-face interaction. For them, very important is to have an impact on the world, professional development, and to make a societal impact. That's good news, because this all we have. We also need to answer the questions of existing members. Oh, sorry. People have to understand the benefit of Oistad. That is connecting people from different backgrounds, raising cultural and technical inspiration, sharing and improving professional knowledge worldwide, and opening doors. As you see, everybody sharing is the maximal benefit. Important is also to improve the communication between Oistad centers, to investigate interests, needs, and expectations, and to promote the visibility of our activities. Getting ready for the future also means that we need to meet the sustainability demand. Sustainability affects Oistad in 2 ways: being sustainable itself and to promote sustainability within our Oistad members. By the pandemic, as we all know, digital events have become the usual way to meet. Meeting in person still stays very important. Man is a social animal. Therefore, sustainability has to be considered when planning Oistad events in person. For promoting sustainability with our Oistad members, a commission overlapping group would be good to share knowledge and good practice concerning sustainability of events, buildings, materials and equipment, transports and logistics, and so on. In Europe, for example, we already are thinking about the content of event-focused eco-design directive that we need to have in Europe quite soon. To get ready for the future, we could plan, do, check, and act in a more professional way. I have quite some knowledge about business analysis, strategy building methods, quality management, and process improvement that can help our organization to improve like the way we want it to be. I would love to help Oistad to get ready to the future, to subserve theater practitioners worldwide for the next 53 years, and get ready. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you. So, nicely on schedule, I think. I'm looking with a wee small eye at Suyong, who's our check with the clock, but I think we're doing quite good. So let's proceed with our next candidate, who is Lise Cliegten. Lise, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I have something to share, so I'll start with this. Let's see. Okay, you can see it. Thanks a lot for having me here. I'm super pleased to be asked as a candidate for the Ørstad Executive Commission. My name is Lise Klitten. I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark, where I'm born and raised in this Nordic, European, Scandinavian country with lots of Nordic, European, with lots of minimalistic design, democracy, and a big diversity between winter and summer, dark and light, sweet and sour. In Denmark, we are 6 million people. It's a kingdom. And our Queen, Her Majesty Margrethe II, is a scenographer and costume designer, as I am myself, stage and costume design. As an autodidact artist, I have since the last 40 years worked professionally with theater, with dance, and primarily within the field of contemporary stage and performance. My work has been supported by private as well as national foundation, including the Danish Art Foundation. I have a strong experience of organizational talent from various roles within different organizations. I served 6 years from 5 to 11 as a board member of the national organization DES, Danish Designers for Stage and Screen. During this period, I was one of the driving forces of ensuring Danish membership of Ørstad in 2009. I'm standing on the shoulders of my organization, DES, the Danish Scenographers, who host the Ørstad Center in Copenhagen, Denmark, which I'm also president of. And DES would like to keep on supporting my work in Ørstad. In Ørstad, I served as a co-head in the years 2008 to 11, and as head of costume design subcommission from 11 to 15. In this period, we did work among others with symposiums, exhibition, and workshops in Turkey, Belgium, the US, Brazil, and Russia. I would like to contribute to the future work and development of Ørstad with my drive, my skills, and my experience. My organizational work is motivated by stimulating exchange of open and creative ideas in an eternally growing network to establish and nurture international collaboration and ensure broad awareness in the public space of our common passion and overlapping professions. It is in this action, collaboration, and idea exchanges between creative people that I want to nurture within Ørstad. This international creative organization had its 50 years anniversary recently, and is really thoughtful to realize how much Ørstad had enriched us and the performing art. Learn from the past, live in the present, and work for the future, is my words. We have become extremely smart at maintaining our work, our contract, tact, and our organization online through this long pandemic. And please, I want to make a super big thanks to all the initiators and all members of Ørstad. I also experienced that we all are good at looking for new solutions. I personally really miss our common social togetherness and the physical contact. And I think it's important. And that opportunity, I hope it will come again. Then I'm sure we can maintain many lectures, workshop, and business meeting digitally, also in the future. So we in this way will spare and take into account sustainability and our common CO2 discharge. I will work for the headquarters. It will remain existing physically. And I hope the cooperation between Ørstad and Taiwan Ministry of Culture can continue so that the headquarters work for the global theater community can go on at least to 20 years. I look forward to entering a fruitful and respectful collaboration in the dynamic intersection between the academic and the professional approach to our creative professions. Our goal must be to create highest value for our members within performance, design space, lighting, costumes, sound, theater technique, and architecture. I believe that through exchange of knowledge and sharing of ideas across borders and professional areas, our organization will go far. And when we add research, education, and internal communication, as we do in Oystad, we can go even further. Okay, thank you for listening and be welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. Well, let's go to the next one. Sofia Pantovani, please, Sofia.
Yeah, thank you, Bert.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, nice to be here with everyone. I'm going to share just 3 slides, if it works, while speaking a little bit about myself. I'm really happy to be here with you. I will be a little more, let's say, free in my words to you. It's nice to see many colleagues. As you know, I am Greek, born in Athens, but currently based in Finland, in Helsinki, working for Finnish University. I'm a sonographer. I trained as a sonographer, and I also have a PhD in sonography. And I have also always worked in both areas, set design and costume design, as a freelancer. I have an experience of about 25 years in the field. And I sometimes joke that I was literally born in the country of theater, and I've been watching theater since a baby age. So it's quite common in our tradition to follow from very early age. Eventually, I have become a professor of costume design at Aalto University. And I somehow feel really privileged to have an experience of different countries. I have studied in many countries around Europe, including Italy and the UK, and I have worked a lot and researched in Central Europe. And in that sense, I feel I have a quite deep understanding from different viewpoints of the young person, also the professional of different countries and their cultures. And I have been really glad in a way to have also traveled a bit further around the world in other continents, particularly in the last 10 years, and through Oystad. So in that sense, I feel that Oystad has opened certain new perspectives to me. I have been an Oystad individual member. I was originally introduced to Oystad in 1999 and then in 2003 during the quadrennials of those years by people who were deeply involved in Oystad, such as Maya Pekkanen and Pamela Howard, who were my teachers in the 90s, and then became an Oystad member in 2007. And it took a while to become a member for different reasons, both the manic work of a freelancer in a country where the situation was not easy, as well as financial reasons. And this brings to me insights into how we could make the so-called less privileged, coming from countries which do not offer support, to actually be active members in Oystad. So I have an experience and understanding of that and an interest in developing that further. It's something that Mia mentioned as well. I have, however, been involved in many Oystad projects and events. I have been attending actively the Performance Design Commission and also the Research Commission. And of course, particularly the Costume Design Subcommission, wherefrom I have many wonderful colleagues and friends. I have been also a vice head for research since 2015, together with our head, Simona Rybakova, and the other vice head, who is Susanne Munif, and we have worked very tightly as a group. And I think this also gives marks, let's say, my spirit for collaborative work. And I'm really happy that some of Lisa's slides were from our group meetings, and you saw all of us there together. These are some pictures from moments of this collaborative spirit. I very much believe in joint efforts and intercultural communication. And I very much feel that the word connection characterizes many of my, let's say, wishes and overall attitude and mindset. And I've been thinking that to connect different areas of our practice, and also actually to connect the practice with the research of it and development of it, is what I have been always interested in. So somehow, as I have an understanding and a quite deep involvement in the different roles, both as a practitioner, as well and designer, as well as educator and researcher over these years, I feel that to connect these areas is one of my interests, and I hope we can talk about that further in the EC if I get elected to be a part of EC. Also understanding the South and the North is something, and connecting. I have been really interested in the development of the SINA project, and I was actively presented there last year, and I think it's a very, very good action, which I hope we can develop further, connecting South and North, and again, also East and West. I'm also interested in connecting generations. There is somehow an older generation of OISTAT members who have been there long-standing, and we can benefit from their experience. You know, at the OISTAT 50 celebration, I moderated a session with the first female president, Maija Pekkanen, and people coming from the past always have certain things and ideas we can value, but of course, looking at the present and the future is the other interest. And my connection to younger people and younger generations has been really important in that, both through my teaching as well as collaborative projects I have been working in. And yeah, so this is all about connecting. And I've got in my letter of intent different ideas that are part of my interest for the future. Particularly looking at how we could break, I wouldn't call it silos because I don't want to criticize anything, but I think that for practical reasons, our commissions and subcommissions are sometimes a little bit too far apart. And we could more and more have collaborative projects and actions besides the meetings. I think one good step that is more and more coming is the promotion and development of OISTAT's new areas and persons. And I think the new technologies and media offer us a lot of possibilities through platforms and so on. But besides that, I think we should also somehow extend the hand to the newer people. This is something we have been doing, for example, in the Posthum Subcommission, by actually inviting one by one all the new people we have met to actively present and have a voice in the group, so to have wider participation. I also think that we have gained from the pandemic and new formats for meetings. Now we are online, and in WSD next year we will try out some hybrid modes. I think we could balance and somehow find a sequence of meeting that combines these formats. I'm also so interested in revisiting all the local geographies and meeting with practitioners and associations more and more, not only going there as a non-state group that remains within itself as a cultural tourist, but actually going and doing things with them. With a real exchange, and also trying to see the situation in the country, like what is the professional condition and the challenges through discussions and visits and exchange, and also common questioning and dialogue. I'm also interested in the links between OISTAT and HQ, and here
sorry,
I would
Sophia,
also like
sorry to interrupt, but could you please a little bit? Can you please try to close up?
Yes, that's the mistake of not writing it. So I close it up. I just close it up, and just close by saying I really thank the Czech OISTAT Center that has supported my candidacy with their letter of support. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you so much. Okay, as we're on a tight schedule, let's proceed with our next candidate, with Patrick Grizzotti. Hello there. The floor is
Hello,
yours.
hi. First, I do apologize for the somewhat moody lighting. It is still quite early here, and I'm trying to let my household stay asleep. So yeah, my name is Patrick Grizzotti. I am a husband, a dad, a designer, an educator, and a mentor. I am a US citizen, currently living and working for the past going into my 5th year on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people in Vancouver, Canada. I am brought to Canada because I am now an assistant professor at the University of British Columbia, where I teach theater design and film design. I have, still have, well, even in the pandemic, a very active freelance design career that spans North America, and am very heavily involved in USITT. I am currently the Associate Artistic Director for the 2023 USPQ exhibits. I'm the chair of the International Activities Committee, and have been for going into my 2nd year. And before that was the Vice Commissioner of Programming for the International Activities Committee for 4 years, in which I started to expand this global vision that I have. I'm also incredibly active in USA 829, the designers union in the United States. I was on the Eastern Region Board as a member and part of the inaugural Off-Broadway contract. I still serve as a member of the Scenic Design Exam Committee, and recently was on a small team of people who revitalized the exam to better align with current industry standards, especially looking towards younger designers and new technologies. And I'm a member of the newly formed ADC 659 here in Canada, which is the Canadian Designers Union. Probably what takes up a lot of my time at the moment is working on World Stage Design. I'm working with April on the 2022 organization committee and the exhibit design for World Stage Design 2022, most closely related in the areas of multiple reality. Some of my motives behind running for this position, I did not grow up with a global perspective. I grew up in the United States in a small town and wasn't exposed to anything beyond my very tiny world until my 30s. And at that point, it was just sort of an explosion of excitement about the people, the possibilities, the way we share information, who we share information with, how that information is shared with one another. And so there's, for me, this something truly amazing and intrinsic about the power of visual storytelling and the spaces in which we tell those stories, how we share those ideas. I think it was probably back in 2011 when I went to my first PQ, was my first sort of international design experience, where I realized that the world was much bigger, much bigger than I knew it to be. And since then, I've been working pretty hard to become a part of that global voice, to become part of somebody who brings that vision to people who may not have had it yet, or may not have the privilege of having been exposed to it yet. I do acknowledge my position of privilege. It's allowed me to travel since then. I hope to, again, share that in ways with more people who maybe don't come from that same spot that I did. And what I'm most excited about is the idea of being part of an EC because I'm ready to listen, learn, and work. So to that end, I believe in the importance of making theater for a local audience. But my desire is not to shrink the world and homogenize theater. It's actually quite the opposite. I aim to celebrate the many people, places, and ways in which we engage with our art forms. And I endeavor to find ways to make our stories, experiences, and crafts more easily accessible. I think we can do that by building on the familiarity of online meetings and online gatherings. But I think we also, as several have said, need to work on building lifelong involvement with OISTAT. I really am interested in fostering lifelong involvement by creating pathways for organizational involvement from student through mid-career into mentorship roles. I think there are ways in which we can reach the current generation without reach younger generations without excluding older generations. I think we're all still learning how to do that, but I think there are some pretty concrete ways in which we can do that. I'm also really interested in allowing us to be the many parts of ourselves that we are, right? I mean, I am a dad and a husband and a designer, and I think sometimes we close off some of those bits because we want to be designers or technicians or theater makers, and we forget to embrace and accept the other parts of ourselves. And something that I think is really fantastic about this community is that we can start to open that up a little bit. And I think that can be part of Oistat's vision is looking at the more holistic person. I'm going to jump quite down. I know that I'm near the end of my time. So I hope that it's clear from my long history of working with art service organizations that I'm not only able to think big vision, but I'm also happy to dive in and do the work. And I acknowledge that being an EC member is a position of privilege in and of itself, and that such a role is about service to the organization, the membership, and the broader community. And it would be my sincere honor to help find pathways to work from institution down to member and member back up through institution. Thank you for your time this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you may be.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you so much. So if we're all set for the next candidate, we will go to Jan Ronick.
Hello,
Jan,
thank you.
There, the floor is yours.
I recorded this presentation, just trying to squeeze everything into the 6 minutes. So I hope you'll be able to see it and hear it.
Hi, everyone. I would like to tell you a few words about myself, my motives for running the election, and my vision for Oistat development in the near future. My name is Jan Rolník. I live and work in Prague, Czech Republic. I am not a designer nor teacher. I work as a producer, project manager, and curator. I founded, curated, organized, or managed a number of projects. Let me show you just a few of them, as we have very limited time. We started a festival of digital art called Signal some 9 years ago. It's a platform for presentation of installation artworks in the public space of City of Prague. It quickly became one of the most visited cultural events in the Czech Republic, with roughly 500,000 people coming to see it every year. 4 years ago, I got this amazing opportunity to curate together with Markéta Fantová the project called 360, which was one of the main projects of Prague Quadrennial in 2019. Together with some 90 artists, designers, and technicians, we created large-scale immersive installation. The idea was to explore possibilities of creative collaboration of large number of artists and have a closer look at the borders of performing arts and installation-based new media arts. Between 2008 and 2010, I worked as a financial director and executive manager of the project called Theatre Architecture in Central Europe. It was a large international cooperative project involving 5 countries. We had a number of outputs, including database of theater buildings, books, exhibitions, workshops, and symposia. Currently, we are finishing permanent museum exhibition about nature and evolution in the National Museum in Prague. I'm very happy to have this chance, as the museum has over 1 million visitors every year, and I think our work will be presented there for at least 2 decades. Why do I run election for the EC again? Well, these are my personal reasons. To support and foster international experience exchange and skill development, to promote new media art and creative use of new technologies in performing arts, to make use of understanding of Oistat I gained in the last 5 years as the Oistat treasurer, and to help Oistat to evolve and get ready for future. In the near future, I would like to see Oistat as a strong, professional, and effective global network for theater designers, architects, and technicians, built on tradition and continuity, operating with up-to-date tools to serve the needs of its members. This is how I see the main challenges that Oistat needs to deal with to reach the goal. Climate change and pandemic leading to diminishing mobility and physical contacts. Omnipresent digitalization and virtualization and growing availability of information through digital networks. And last but not least, political pressures, anti-globalization movement connected with nationalism and populism. From the more detailed viewpoint, I see these obstacles in the current OISTAT operation. Few information about real needs of individual members. The fact that budget income is based on low and diminishing institutional membership fees. Really, most of OISTAT activities do not bring any reasonable income to the budget. And finally, the volunteering principle. In my opinion, the activities, projects, and the organization itself cannot be managed properly without any rewards and commitments. So these would be my proposals for the next steps in OISTAT. Gradually focus the organization more on individual members, with, of course, keeping the institutional members on board. Put the freshly started membership relations system to a good use. We need to get in direct contact with our members. Design and produce centrally organized pilot projects based mainly, not only, on digital and online formats. Start seeking financial support with industry partners. Search for the new structure of creating and directing action plan for the management of the organization. Hire and pay extra professionals, a part of headquarters, to manage the organization activities and find a budget for the fees. As to the questions we received from voters, I believe I already answered some of them before. But long story short, I would say that we need to digitalize, focus our attention to members and industry partners, and thirdly, set up few strong pilot projects to bring OISTAT to real financial living. I would like to wrap up with this. In my opinion, OISTAT status quo will be increasingly difficult to sustain. Modus operandi should change towards greater executive flexibility and power. A lot of work has to be done. I believe it can be done on the principle of volunteering. So, if I am to continue my work in OISTAT EC, I would like to do this in joint effort to address the above mentioned issues. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you. Okay, so we have some more candidates to go. Please bear with us. And we will switch now to Hazem Shebel. Hazem?
Hi.
Hi, Hazem, of course, in front of the pyramids. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Hazem Shebel. I'm a set and or light designer from Egypt. I'm teaching at the Ain Shamsi University and at Alexandria Academy of Arts. So I am member in this last EC. My aim to continue my work with this EC or last EC to the future. So first I heard about OISTAT when I was in Prague 2003, when John Mabry invited me to a meeting when I attended my first technology meeting in Prague in Corsa restaurant when I met Louis Janssen and other colleagues. And I started to be member starting from 2005. When one of my designs selected to be in the first world stage design in 2005. In 2005, I still remember when I go to shake hand with Eric Fielding and I told him, I hope 2025 world stage design will be in Egypt or in Arab area, maybe. So that's now 16 years in the past. Later, I start in 2011. I start to ask my Karamzars and my colleagues, and I wanted to transform my individual members to be a center member, and they encouraged me a lot, and we opened our center, Egyptian Center, State Center in 2012, and we invite the EC member, and in this time we have our Egyptian first scenographer designs. And also in 2018, we invite the EC member to host the meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh. From 2015 and 2019, I was responsible for the Egyptian section in Prague. Also, my main concern is to connect my colleagues in the Arab world and in Africa section with other people in the world. This is my main concern. So for this reason, I start to have in Prague 2015 Arab design section in Prague. It was for the first time designers from 8 countries, and this happened again in 2019 for the Arab section and the African section. And 2 years ago, like I said yesterday, we start to have a SENA for Southern European and North African scenographers. And now you can see, I'm trying to invite many Arabs, and you can see the effect from yesterday. You can see now members from Kuwait, from Morocco, from Syria. And I hope things will be better in the future. Tomorrow you will hear something. I learned the lesson from 2017. So now I have more colleagues and more so tomorrow you will hear about World Stage Design 2025 hosted from one of Arab countries. I will leave it for tomorrow. It's and with Academy. It's I can say it's Sharjah Academy for Performing Arts. So I'm happy to collaborate with them, and I hope so you will be happy. All of you will be happy. Takes time to know exactly what we have to do, but I hope we will do it right. Also, about funding, it's step by step, but if we success, I think, this is my opinion, if we success to have more contact with the Arab world, especially if World Stage Design go to Sharjah, maybe this will open up possibilities for Sharjah to host office for headquarters, or maybe the main headquarters office can be in Sharjah. Because maybe tomorrow we'll explain more. The ruler of the Sharjah is the Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Muhammad Al-Qasmi. He is a ruler of the Sharjah and a chairman of Sharjah Performing Arts Academy. He is a playwright. So the ruler is a playwright, and I saw himself donate $1 million in 2011 to International Theatre Institute, ITI, and I think to open up, to connect the people from Arab world with other people. Maybe with the future, I will continue work to open up also with African colleagues. I hope that will give more effect. Thank you so much, and I hope to get your voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And so nice within the 6 minutes. Done great. And we look forward to your speech tomorrow as well. So for our next candidate, we once again go to Gregor. So Gregor, you have another 6 minutes to put yourself into the spotlights, and here they go.
Thank you, Bert. My speech was already for presidency and for EC, so I just wanted to add that I would be very happy to work in this great team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, then I think let's go to April. Hi, April Fixo. Let's go. Hi, hello there.
Hi. Hi.
Oh, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Bert. I'm going to share my screen. I apologize for my Halloween-like lighting that's happening in the background, but I was trying not to wake my family up this morning. Oh, you have to be quiet right now because I'm doing a presentation. Oh, no, you have to be quiet. I only have 6 minutes, so.
Okay,
oh my God, that's my life.
now.
That is my life. Hi everyone. So many of you know me. I've been to many OISTAT meetings. I've attended every commission meeting and every subcommission meeting. So not every single meeting, but I've been to every single group. So over the years of planning world stage design for the last 3 years, going on 4, I have been very active in understanding OISTAT and its members. I am a theater designer by my profession. I've been working in the professional theater since 1995, and I am also a mother and a professor at the University of Calgary. And what I'd like to share with you is I've answered the questions and sort of very colorfully highlighted some answers for you. In the question of what is my vision of a sustainable OISTAT, I think we have to analyze what those challenges are. They've been the pandemic, the climate crisis, and also financial resources. So what that leads me to thinking about is hybrid meetings. It's not only feasible to be meeting digitally, as many have already said, but it's also more ecologically responsible, and it's actually more welcoming to newer members and those who are working and can't travel or can't receive funding for travel. Communication using online tools for membership management and information. There are many ways to communicate with individuals now that I think we can leverage a little bit more. We do need to diversify the income generation for the organization. I'm aware that income can't come only from institutional membership. It needs to come in other forms. And so we need to explore what those might be. And I'm interested in bringing equity deserving communities into focus. I think what that means for me is thinking about not only how is mainstream theater created, but how is theater and where are the theater designers creating work, and where are the technicians and the architects creating work that is accessible, that is available in other spheres besides the mainstream theater. So that has been a part of my attempt to engage with the Indigenous community in Canada, and working very closely with the Indigenous community near Calgary, and looking at storytelling from very diverse perspectives. And understanding sustainable practices, I think the organization could create its own sustainability policy practice so that we can agree to some principles and then adhere to them. How do I see funding for OISTAT and OISTAT projects? I think we have to analyze exactly what are the needs of OISTAT, what are the needs of the projects. I think the funding of World Stage Design and CinoFest needs to continue and possibly expand as CinoFest expands. CinoFest and World Stage Design have received record numbers of, we've received record numbers of entries even during the pandemic. So people are eager to engage, and that shows how much this former EC has been working very hard to bring in new members from around the world. So we need to consider the necessity of a bricks and mortar office. Is it possible that HQ could be an international virtual hub? Is it possible that we don't actually need office space, but that what we need is a network of people who are maintaining the systems of communication? An application process for projects to be laid out, just keeping it very clear in terms of where the fixed dates are, how things are being evaluated, and explore international sponsorships with the corporate entities or governments. I don't know all the details of how the current contract with MOC is, but the Ministry of Culture in Taiwan obviously has been critical to keeping OISTAT active and alive, and it's been serving a purpose in Taiwan. So I think what we need to think about is, again, what is our home base? What does it look like? How will the transition be handled if we have to move? Do we have to move is another question. So, and should there be a call for institutional members to support this sort of head office? And who is interested and who can meet the organization's needs? I want to thank CITT for the nomination. I've been a member of the Canadian Institute of Theatre Technology for a number of years, and I've been on the board of the Alberta section, and I've been on the board of the National Association of Canadian Theatre Designers, so the Associated Designers of Canada, and I've been president of that board for 2 terms. And now my time is completely occupied with raising a 7-year-old boy and planning world stage design. So I have OISTAT and a child in my life, and those seem to be the only 2 things. But I just wanted to say that I believe that leadership is actually an opportunity to serve, and that the 2 most important things to me are integrity and process, because I think it leads to good results, and enjoyment of our work, which leads to more creative outcomes and respectful conditions. So that's me in a nutshell. Thanks very much.
Thank you, April. Thank you very much for this presentation. And some of you have mentioned it, but just to be sure, we are secure within Taiwan until the end of 2025, supported by the Ministry of Culture there. So we're certainly for the coming years we're safe. But of course, you're right. At some point, we have to start thinking about what may be the next step, and that is up to the new ECM president to give that some thought, just to be correct on the issue. So we go to our final presentation, last but certainly not least, Sammy Wang from Taiwan. I hand over the floor to you. Please unmute. Can you unmute, Sammy? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, here you are.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Sammy. I'm a set designer, and I'm a member of TATT since 1998, and was elected as the president of TATT from 2007 to 2013, and became the standing director of the board to today. I'm currently teaching in Taipei National University of the Arts, was chairman of the Department of Theatrical Design and Technology from 2014 to 2020, and was invited as the director of the Performing Arts Center to operate Guangdu Art Festival as executive director during the same period of time. Now has just been elected the dean of the theater school of TNUA. As to my motive, after TATT was accepted as a member of OISTA, international connection became a very important issue with the growth of TATT. We reach out as much as we can. We attended conferences, flight for meetings, and we also went to PQ for the very first time in 2003. And that is the first time for me to see how diverse the design world can be. And that was also the first time for the most part of the world to learn the design energy of Taiwan. 10 years later, in my presidency of TATT, I think it is about time to bring the world to Taiwan. Therefore, with the help of OISTA, TATT, TNUA, and the Ministry of Culture, we hosted WSD 2017 in Taipei. WSD became a universal gathering party to celebrate theater across the world. It was my motive then, and it is still the same today. Bring in the world and party with the world. TATT cannot be absent from the world's performing art industry and theater activities. Instead, shall participate and contribute more actively. As to my vision, as we all know, we do have friends from like Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, Philippines, and etc. But the bound between Oyster and these Asian country or members do have a kind of a loose feeling. So Asian theater activities and energy has to be presented and voiced in this family. As you can see, I'm the only Asian candidate in the list. I wish I could somehow urge existing Asian members to be more active to all kinds of Oyster's activity, or encourage the establishment of new centers and members. Only the vigorous participation of Asian members will make the jigsaw of Oyster complete. Second of all, introducing Oyster to the young generation is more and more important today. Don't let them think that Oyster is a boring club for meetings and conferences only. We can do a lot more than that. And I think Wan Rong demonstrates some wonderful activities in the recent years. Our young generation are the backbones of Oyster's future. Let them know a non-governmental organization can help them to explore their creativity and imagination through the worldwide information and guidance. As to the questions, question number one, nobody would realize that the theater industry can be so thrilled before the outbreak of COVID-19. I think many of you or your colleague has been or still in this unprecedented impact, and it doesn't seem to be ceased in the near future. But for the international organization as Oyster to operate functionally and effectively in any kind of crisis, they need a firm and stable fund first to survive. And furthermore, through the network of Oyster to supply the instantaneous information or assistance that each unique center might face. Okay, question number two. Funding for Oyster, that is always the question, isn't it? And I really don't think it will change dramatically in the near future. As to the project changing, ever since the pandemic spread, a lot of our friends, especially young people around us, have been affected not only financially, but also psychologically. They're not sure about what's ahead of them. Do they want to go back to such a vulnerable industry? Can theater make their living in the future? What else can they do? Where can they go? Tons of questions like these pops up. And I think it is about time to lay this kind of issue into each commission or working group's meeting agenda so we can perform more positively as a platform to support them and assist them to face whatever situation might come. Question number three, yes. The new contract of Oyster with the MOC is to 2025. I myself and TATT would certainly do our best to urge MOC to extend the term. But in the end, I think Oyster belongs to the world. And I would like to plead that there are more Mr. Duncan Chang around the centers in the world have the vision and courage come up to convince their government or related organization. Let them know that there are so many things that we can do, so many things we can explore with Oyster at home. Yes, when you embrace Oyster, the world embraces you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sammy. Beautiful words. Thank you.
Thank you. So
everybody, these were our presentations of the candidates, and I must say that I was at the beginning I thought, well, it's a lot of presentations one after another and we'll see them through, but I must say they're all very interesting and very nice to hear the personal visions on the world and on Oistad in particular, of course. So I'm looking forward for tomorrow, where in the end the verdict will be of the people who will choose for the candidates. But for now, we still have some time left for some questions. And if someone has a question for somebody in particular, please let me know. And the best thing would be if you raise your hand via the toolbar at the bottom, and then I can see him popping up, like I do see Dinesh popping up. Dinesh, please. Your question.
Hello, everyone. Wonderful presentations. And it's always great to hear such a powerful vision. So I know that it's extremely difficult to choose when it comes to the election. If I am there, I would say, yes, everyone should come and be executive. Okay, so, but I think my questions come from my own positionality into the Oistad, and I will throw that to you all. How you, and this question is not directed to a specific person, but kind of more a generic and general question. How would you, in your capacity, would enhance diversity into the organization? Racial diversity, that's my first, and from racial to probably other diversities in terms of the participation, in terms of the content, wherever you want to take that discussions. But yes, I would love to hear your thought on racial diversity. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, Dinesh, so you ask a question at 11 persons at the same time. Let's see who dares try for an answer. Who will do so? I see Patrick raising a hand. But
yeah,
because you were in my frame, so perhaps there was somebody else as well, but I couldn't see it. So, Patrick.
Thank you. You know, it is a fantastic question. So sorry, yeah, Francesca has woken up. It is a fantastic question, and I don't have a solid answer to it, but I do know that the answer starts with listening. With listening, right? I don't know that we yet know what voices are missing. We know there are voices missing, and we don't, in my opinion, I don't know how to respectfully engage those missing voices. So I think through listening and through active engagement, through honest relationship building, we can find out why those voices are not with us and don't participate, right? I think it's very top down to say, well, we will offer these things or build bridges to these communities without doing the groundwork first to start seeing who we are, what we are, who we're missing, and what we can offer and how we can offer what we provide, or how we can expand what we provide to broaden our community. So that's not necessarily a concrete answer, but I don't think a concrete answer exists. I think there's a lot of work that has to go into it before we sort of give a global answer to that, from my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Somebody else from the candidates who wants to react to that? I see a raised hand. I see a lot of raised hands. We're going to try to do them all. Sophia is the first one to raise her hand. Please, Sophia.
Okay, I thought Gregor was going to say something before me. So I wanted to say that I think many of us touched the topic of Dinesh's question in our presentations in different ways. And another thing I want to say is that I think the way everybody will vote tomorrow could also support diversity, in the sense that you can think, how do you think we also represent different areas and different countries and different perspectives? However, my response to Dinesh's question is to actually be really concrete, rather than be really concrete in the sense of the actions we undertake, how we reach out to people. Many people don't know about Oistad, and in that sense are not a part of it. So I think we should take every opportunity that comes up in direct ways, or also indirect ways, by telling people to tell other people, by including one, and then the one might bring in more, and even the association or the country that is behind them. So my response to your question, in short, is to use every single small or bigger opportunity to get people in by being really inclusive.
Thank you, Sophia. And I'm just following the next in line because we only have a few minutes left. And the next is Mia. Please, Mia.
Yes, I would like just to add something. I'm totally with what Sophia said. I just wanted to say that I think these online platforms allowed us to bring more people who are not able to be on these expensive meetings. So I think that actually we have opportunity now to be more diverse and to involve more people. And it's not just the core of organization, but also in every section of OISTAT, actually we could and should involve more people from different fields and minorities, of course. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mia. Laura, please.
Yes, as far as I know, that EC the last years tried to plan their meetings, especially in countries where we do not have connections. So I think it's a very difficult thing to do the same thing or to find the same connections online within the digital world. So I think this is something we need to think about and to talk about how we can do this. But I also think what I said, meetings in person are very important, and we could stay doing this, meeting in the countries we do not have an OISTAT center to find connections. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for your contribution. Please, Sami.
Oh, yes. I just want to add something with Patrick. I don't know whether we should thank for the pandemic or not, since we're using internet more and more, and with the video conference more and more. So I think that the reach out of OISTAT will be much more easier through the internet. But yes, I do still want to meet in person. I want to see people's face. Okay, so yes, but with the help of internet, I think we can reach out even further to those people who never got a chance to join us or to know us and know the organization. So I think, yeah, in the future, I think this is also the turning point of OISTAT. Now it's the turning point of OISTAT, yeah.
Thank you, Sami. Next in line for answering was Lise, please. Lise.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. And I think also it's important to listen to the NGO structure when we're thinking about race and minority as a discrimination and all these kind of things. And yeah, to listen and go for the goal from as an NGO society as well, so we don't discriminate. And also I think that this line we have now online is very much easier, but I think also it's very important to meet physically. The pandemic have been fantastic here in Denmark. We are talking about all the health, you know, with sport and food and political things and so, and we have been open absolutely to find out that theater have a effort, a health effort also on young people. So I think this could be a very interesting goal to go for OISTAT, to think about it like a mentally health thing that we have this to spread this vision. It's like, you know, you go to the exercising in the morning, it's super fantastic. So this, I think the pandemic have given us, it's also that the culture and the art and the theater visions is super important. So that's one of my goals, to be more to work for. Thank you.
Thank you, Lise. April, I see a raised hand with you.
Hi, thank you. I just think it is a turning point for OISTAT, and I think we're at a point in time right now where we need to think beyond colonial structure and look at the world in a different way. We need to flip it upside down and turn it from left to right, back again. Because, if we look globally at the world, the minorities that are in the majority of the countries where they're predominantly white people, we call those of color, of another race, a minority, but those minorities don't exist globally. So when we look at the world, there's actually far more non-white people. And I think OISTAT, if it wants to be a global organization, needs to embrace that fact and break down its colonial borders. And that takes time, it takes effort, and it takes an awful lot of listening.
Thank you, April. We are running at the end of this session. I see Dinesh in the chat asking me to say if you can do some final thoughts on which he doesn't need concrete answers, but just to give his thoughts to everybody here. So Dinesh, if you would like to do that.
Thank you, Bert. I just wanted to leave you with a thought that economic boundaries are big boundaries between South Asian and African countries and European. So when we talk about inclusivity, I think I want to leave with the thought that how you as executives would try to balance those economic boundaries. What would be your plan for on there? And then I do respect this online format, but the research suggests that the representation, the in-person representation, is extremely important to bring the unheard voices. So internet is full of voices, I know it, and internet can be a wonderful thing, but internet is also filled with one racial sounds or one racial voices. So I would leave you to think on that. How would you bring up resources which can bridge that gap, economic gap, which can facilitate South Asian African participant? And second, how would you in your capacity bring up resources which can ensure in-person participation of people who comes from economically weaker sections of the racial domain and sometimes within your own domain? Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh. I think now we're going to conclude. I'm sorry. And at the end of time, we only have 10 minutes left till the next session. And I think that everybody wants to stretch their legs for 10 minutes until we go into the next session, which is about eco-scenography. So very interesting. And I really think we should all go visiting there. I would like to thank all the candidates for presidency and for EC for their presentations. I think that it has shown that digital presentations really are very well is a good tool for us now to do these presentations, because we can take time to prepare, we can take time to present and listen to each other. And I think that we have really heard some very good thoughts from everybody, deep thoughts about the world and how OISTAT should be. So I was inspired. It will be a very difficult task for the voting delegates tomorrow to make a decision on who is going to be on the team. For now, I would close this session thanking the people who have presented themselves very much for their effort and for their presentations, thanking headquarters, who will be highlighted a little bit more tomorrow in the second part of Congress, for their excellent facilitating at this moment. And thank you all, of course, around 60 people, to join us today in this presentation, listening to all the candidates. And for tomorrow, exciting day, we will see what the new team will be. Thank you all very much. We'll switch over in 10 minutes, open a new Zoom link, but you can hang on perhaps a little bit more here until headquarters closes this link. So see you next in 10 minutes. Thank you so much. See you later.